When Lena Morris first arrived at the countryside estate, she wasn't thinking about ghosts, curses, or stitched-mouthed children hiding under the floor. She only wanted peace. After all, what better way to escape the noise of London, the endless deadlines, and the pain of a breakup than to retreat to a quiet old house in the middle of nowhere? The house had been in her family for generations, though she knew nothing of its history. Her estranged grandmother, Eleanor Morris, had left it to her in a will. Lena had only met Eleanor once, briefly, when she was a child. A tall, sharp-eyed woman with a voice like crumbling leaves. She had lived in the village of Dalebrook her entire life, a place barely visible on modern maps. The drive up to the house was like something out of a Gothic novel. The road narrowed into a dirt path as trees pressed in on both sides. Moss-covered stones marked the property line. When Lena finally pulled up in front of the house, she just sat in the car for a minute, staring. It was beautiful, in a decaying sort of way. A 3-story Victorian with ivy crawling up its sides, chipped black shutters, and windows that reflected nothing, though it creaked in the wind, like a deep breath being taken. Inside, the house was cold. Not just old house cold, but bone deep, like it remembered winters that had never ended. Dust swirled in beams of light that barely made it through the gray curtains. Furniture sat beneath white cloths like silent ghosts. The air smelled faintly of lavender and old paper. The first few days passed quietly. Lena cleaned, unpacked, tried to settle into the space. She set up a small painting studio in the sunroom and began working again. For a moment, it felt like life might become normal. But the house had other plans. It started on the 3rd night. She woke suddenly, gasping for breath. Her chest felt tight, as if someone were pressing down on it. She sat up, heart racing. The house was utterly silent. No cars, no crickets, no wind. Just stillness. Then she heard it. Creak, creak, creak. Not the random groans of old wood. No, this was rhythmic, measured, like breathing. It came from directly beneath her bed. The floor swelled and dipped with the sound. She froze, listening. Thump, creak, thump, creak. Was it her imagination? A trick of the pipes? She tried to laugh it off and pulled the blankets tighter around herself. The next morning, she found fresh dust gathered around the floorboards, as if they had moved, as if something beneath them had shifted in the night. On the 5th day, she visited the village to pick up supplies. The villagers were polite but distant. When she mentioned the house, they fell silent. An old man at the market, his back bent like a question mark, shuffled over to her. "You the Morris girl?" he asked, squinting. Lena nodded. "I moved into the house last week. It's beautiful, but a bit creepy, to be honest." The old man grunted. It should have stayed empty. That house don't like strangers." Before she could ask what he meant, he turned and hobbled away. That night, it happened again. The creaking, the rhythmic breathing. But this time there was a new sound. Scratching, soft at first, then louder, then unmistakable. Scrape, scrape, scratch. She leaned over the side of the bed and pressed her ear to the floor. Her heart almost stopped. The scratching wasn't random. It came in bursts. Sharp, deliberate, as if someone or something was trying to write on the underside of the floorboards. She pulled back, trembling, and slept on the couch downstairs. By the 7th day, strange things began to happen. She'd leave her room and return to find chairs moved, paintings askew, lights flickering. The kitchen faucet turned on by itself. Her cat, Murphy, refused to enter the bedroom anymore. He sat at the threshold and hissed at the empty space. Late one night, while searching the attic for candles, Lena found a small chest tucked behind some boxes. Inside were yellowed papers, old photographs, and a thin diary with Annabeth carved into the leather cover. She sat down and flipped through the brittle pages. April 12th, 1891. They won't listen. I told them about the man in the floor. He whispers to me at night. He says he can make them stop hurting me. They think I'm mad. April 20th. They locked me in the hollow room. They said I must not come out until I'm clean. But he is here too, and he is hungry. April 30th. I am not alone. He is beneath. He waits. The last few pages were smeared with what looked like dry blood. The handwriting had become erratic, symbols drawn in the margins, repeated words. He waits, he waits, he waits beneath the floorboards. Lena dropped the book. Suddenly, the house groaned, loud and deep. The floor beneath her feet pulsed like a heartbeat. That night, she didn't sleep. At exactly 3:13 a.m., her bedroom door creaked open on its own. The floorboards began to breathe again. Lena didn't sleep after reading the diary. She sat in the hallway with her back against the cold plaster wall, staring at the closed door to her bedroom. Murphy, her cat, curled beside her, tail twitching as if in warning. The silence stretched on endlessly until the clock ticked to 3:13 a.m. The floorboards groaned. Creak, creak, breathing again, deeper this time. Lena gritted her teeth, stood slowly, and walked toward the door. Her hand trembled on the doorknob. With a slow twist, she opened it, and was hit by a wave of freezing air. The room was dark, save for the faint blue glow of moonlight through the curtains. The bed sat untouched, but the wooden floorboard beneath had shifted. One of them was slightly lifted, like something underneath had tried, and almost succeeded to push its way through. Then she heard it again. Scratch, scratch, thump, right below her feet. It wasn't the house. It wasn't rats. Someone was down there. The next morning, Lena went to a hardware store in the village and bought gloves, a flashlight, and a crowbar. She didn't care what the villagers thought anymore. She needed to know what was beneath her floor. When she returned, she started searching the house top to bottom. After hours of knocking on panels and crawling under furniture, she discovered a small wooden trapdoor in a living room, tucked beneath a moth-eaten rug and covered with an old trunk. It was barely noticeable and nailed shut. She hesitated, heart pounding. Then, gripping the crowbar tightly, she pried the nails loose, one by one. The final creak would echo like a scream. The smell hit her first. Earth, mold, something rotting. Lena lifted the door and pointed her flashlight inside. A narrow tunnel stretched forward, lined with old wooden beams and damp soil. She gagged at the smell, but she had to know. She climbed down. The tunnel was barely wide enough to crawl through. Her flashlight flickered as she moved forward on hands and knees. The silence down there was unnatural, too thick, too deep. The only sound was her own breathing and the soft crunch of dirt beneath her palms. After what felt like forever, the tunnel opened into a small chamber. She froze. There was a child's bed in the corner, rotted but still standing. Beside it, a rusted metal tray with remnants of food long decayed. On the far wall were deep claw marks, dozens of them. Above, the wooden ceiling had strange symbols carved into it, circles, eyes, mouth sewn shut. And then, in the farthest corner of the chamber, a figure, a little girl, crouched in the dark, hair covering her face, skin pale as death, dress tattered. She was hunched, unmoving, almost like a statue. But Lena could see her chest rise and fall. The girl looked up. Her eyes were entirely black, like wells that had no bottom. Her lips were stitched shut with thick, black thread. Her head tilted slowly, almost curiously. Lena gasped and backed away. But then the girl's voice filled her head, not through sound, through thought. They put me here because I saw him, the one beneath the floor. They call me evil, but he chose me. Lena shook her head. Who are you? The voice whispered again. Annabeth, your blood is mine too. She clutched her chest. You're my great-aunt. The girl nodded, but the movement was jerky, unnatural. He whispered through the cracks. Promise me freedom, if I let him in. But they locked me away instead. Sealed the chamber with runes and prayers. But they died. And now, I wait. Lena stared in horror. The diary had been real. Everything in it. The girl stood slowly. Her knees cracked. The stitches on her mouth began to tear. Thread, snapping one by one. Blood dripped from her lips as she took a step forward. You live above. You walk free. But I wait. Beneath. The walls of the chamber began to groan, and Lena could hear something moving. Beneath the floor of the chamber itself. A deeper shadow. A presence. The real thing Annabeth had warned about. Something older than her, than the house, than the village itself. Lena turned and scrambled back through the tunnel, heart racing, lungs burning. She burst out the trapdoor, slammed it shut, and dragged the bookshelf across it. But the house groaned in protest. The walls seemed to breathe now, too. The air had changed. Heavier, like standing in a room of strangers holding their breath. That night, Lena didn't sleep. She sat in the kitchen with every light on, gripping a knife in one hand and the diary in the other. At 3:13 a.m., the lights flickered. The trapdoor slammed open on its own. A gust of freezing wind blew through the room. Murphy bolted upstairs, yowling in terror. And from the trapdoor, she heard footsteps. Light. Bear. Slowly climbing up. She raised a knife, but froze as the girl stepped into the kitchen. Only, it wasn't exactly the same girl. Annabeth's skin was decayed in patches now, her head twitching at odd angles. Her mouth hung open, stitched no longer, only a black void inside. She whispered aloud this time. He waits, and now so will you. Lena screamed, and the girl rushed forward with impossible speed, grabbing her by the neck. The room vanished into blackness. Lena awoke in darkness. The air was thick, humid, almost liquid. Her head throbbed, and her hands were bound behind her back with something coarse. Rope? No, hair. It smelled like rotten soil. She could feel the cold, uneven floor beneath her, and hear soft rustling from somewhere close. She tried to scream, but no sound came out. Her throat was raw. Slowly, her eyes adjusted to the dim glow of candlelight flickering on the walls. She was back in the chamber beneath the house. But something was different. The symbols carved into the ceiling above were gone, clawed away. In their place were new ones, fresh, written in blood. Her blood. Then she saw Annabeth, or what was left of her. She stood near the far wall, head bowed, her long black hair falling over her face like a curtain. Her skin peeled in patches. Her mouth was no longer stitched shut, but open in a permanent, gaping grin. Her voice came in a whisper, not spoken aloud, but pressed directly into Lena's mind like cold fingers. He took me. Then I took you. Now we are one. Lena struggled to move. Her legs were numb, her wrists burning against the tangled restraints. She looked toward the tunnel she had crawled through before, but it was gone, collapsed, buried. No, she croaked, finally able to make sound. You can't keep me here. Annabeth stepped closer. The air grew colder with each movement. The floor breathed for him. The house was his mouth. Now you are his voice. From beneath the chamber floor, Lena felt a vibration. A deep, thunderous thrum, like something stirring in the earth, something colossal. Then the board split. Out of the crack in the floor rose a hand, long and thin, fingers like branches wrapped in wet skin. Then another. They clawed upward slowly, followed by a face that wasn't a face. Just darkness shaped like a man, featureless except for the scream it never stopped screaming. Lena tried to pull away, but her body refused. She was paralyzed, her mind screaming louder than her mouth ever could. Annabeth knelt before the shape, arms raised. She returns to feed. As I did, as all do, one above, one below, and then the darkness reached into Lena's chest. She gasped, expecting pain, but what came was worse. Emptiness. A pulling, tearing sensation. Memories slipping. Her name, her face, her mother's voice, all dissolving. Until there was nothing. 2 weeks later, Dalebrook Village. A black SUV parked on the edge of the property. A real estate agent named Meredith Holloway stepped out, clipboard in hand. She had a new listing to assess, the old Morris house, now vacant. The authorities hadn't found any body, just a shattered door, claw marks, and a terrified cat. The village was quiet about it. Bad luck, they said. That house doesn't like visitors. Meredith rolled her eyes. Superstitious nonsense. She stepped inside the house. It smelled musty, but not terrible. Structurally, it looked sound. Some cosmetic work, and she could probably sell it for a decent price. She wandered through the rooms, taking notes. When she reached the living room, her eyes fell on something strange. A trapdoor, slightly ajar. She frowned. That wasn't on the floor plan. Kneeling down, she lifted it and looked into pure blackness. Curious, she clicked on her flashlight and heard it. Creak, creak, breathing. She leaned closer. From the darkness below, two eyes opened, entirely black. Then came a voice, soft, female, distant, but inside her head. She waits beneath the floorboards. She waits for you. Meredith screamed, but it was too late. Candle epilogue. Some say the Morris house is cursed. Others believe it's just old and haunted. But the villagers of Dalebrook know the truth. The house is not haunted. It is alive. And someone must always wait beneath the floorboards. Now it's Lena, and she is waiting.